this is a fun fact. Not so much about who you are, but it's the position you're in. You're seated with Christ. That's what Paul told the Ephesians 2:6, you are seated with Christ in heavenly places. Now that sounds pretty cool, of course. I used to love to declare it, I am seated with Christ in heavenly places. But my walking didn't match my talking. I was saying I was seated while doing everything the opposite of what a seated person does. I was running, I was moving, I was doing spiritual jumping jacks to prove something. Here's what the context of sitting means. The author of Hebrews says that when Jesus, our high priest, finished his work on the cross, he sat down. That's not because he needed the rest after hanging there for nearly 6 hours. The author of Hebrews is calling attention to Israel's temple. The temple was a place where people brought their sacrifices for the forgiveness of sins, for the pleasure of God. Priests inside the temple did the work of the sacrifice. And since there was always more sin, always more sacrifices to make, more work to be done, the temple didn't have a seat. But after Jesus, our high priest, made the final sacrifice, he was able to sit. No more work needed to be done. No more forgiveness, no more pleasing God. He did it. And those of us who place our faith in that, we get to sit with him, knowing that we're forgiven and knowing that we are pleasing to God. So while your flesh is still on this earth, you're listening or watching to this, you're going about your daily chores to make money and raise a family and such, your spirit, the real you, is all the while seated, whether you know it or not. There's no more work you have to do. The real you is new, right, whole, and holy. And like I said, that's true whether you know it or not. I lived for many years as a Christian, seated but not knowing it. So I was running around doing all this work, hoping that one day I'd deserve to take a seat, hoping that one day God might say, well done, Kyle, look at all you've done for me, now you may rest. Take a seat. When the truth is, because of my faith, I was pleasing to God all along. I was seated and at rest all along. As are you. Lies don't change the truth. Deception doesn't change the truth. It just keeps you from knowing the truth or believing the truth, which has a real effect on how you live today. As Jesus said, it's the truth that sets you free. It's the truth that brings you peace and joy and gives you the security and safety that dissolves worry and guilt and shame. And the truth about you is that you are new, you are right, you are holy, you are whole, you are loved. And no person, no past, no body, no battle, no sin, no symptoms, no struggle, no nothing can separate you from any of that. Okay. Do you know what being unconditionally loved as a human being is? That's called permission to be imperfect. It's permission to be loved who you are, as you are, where you are. Permission to be Imperfect is the title of my newest book. So many people are afraid that if you tell people too much that they are unconditionally loved, it might cause them to run amok with sin, might stop them from behaving right, might make them lazy. Well, in this book, I show you from a scriptural and scientific perspective why that's simply not true. That's a religious soundbite, but it's not true. You do better, actually, when you know that you're unconditionally loved, when you know the pressure is off, that the stakes are off, and I'm going to show you in the book. So you may get Permission to Be Imperfect on paperback, ebook, or audiobook wherever books are sold, but I'll send you a signed copy when you order it through my website at kylewinkler.org/imperfect. That's kylewinkler.org/imperfect.